Hi there, everyone, and welcome to Paper Wishes Weekly Webisodes. I'm Sara Naumann, and today I'm really excited to bring you some fun supplies from our friends at Creative Expressions. We're going to play with some cutting dies, we're going to be working with stamps, and we're going to be working with a very cool medium called Opal Blaze. We have so much to explore today, and I'm really glad you're here. Come play with us. Let's take a closer look at the Opal Blaze. This is a water-based, fast-drying medium. Each one of these little jars has a base color plus up to 4 different shimmering mica colors, which is going to give you a beautiful iridescent look when you apply it to black cardstock. Now we have 7 different colors. We have sapphire grape, teal raspberry, sunset orange, pink blueberry, turquoise peach, golden blackberry, and also gilded avocado. Now you can get a hint of the color from the labels that you see here on these jars, and that's going to show you the color applied onto black. Now that's really helpful because if you're looking at the sides of the jars, you'll think, well, they all look like they're white. So the real magic happens when you apply this medium to black cardstock. So I'm going to move aside most of my Opal Blaze colors, and we'll be working with one of my favorites, which is the gilded avocado. So as you can see, the Opal Blaze comes in this handy little jar, and you just need to remove the jar liner, and I just tuck that right inside the lid of the jar and keep that on hand. And you can apply the medium straight from the jar onto your cardstock. Now, you can use lots of different tools to apply it to your cardstock, and we will talk about those, but probably the easiest way is to just dip your finger in and apply it to your surface. So I have a piece of plain black cardstock here, and I'm just going to apply the medium straight from the jar right onto my cardstock. And just take a look. Isn't that beautiful? You've got that shimmer and shine and that beautiful kind of soft, I guess that's an avocado green color. So this is the gilded avocado. Let me pop the lid back on here. I'm going to clean my finger just quickly with a damp baby wipe. And let's take a look at some of the other colors. So I'm going to move this aside. And let's look at my little swatch book here. So we have the golden blackberry. Just take a look at how pretty and vibrant that is. Sapphire grape. So you can see again as I'm tilting this. We have the sunset orange. And the pink blueberry, which is kind of a pretty pinky purple depending on where you hold it under the light. Teal raspberry. I have to say this is another personal favorite. We have the turquoise peach, which is absolutely stunning. And then coming back to our gilded avocado. Okay, so now that we've seen a simple application of Opal Blaze and got a feel for all of those gorgeous colors, let's take a look at some other ways to use it. This card features the Opal Blaze applied to black cardstock and then die cut into these pretty feather leaf fronds. Let's take a look at these dies. So here's the packaging. As you can see, you're going to have 2 dies and they are the mirror image of each other. So that comes in handy as you're creating different elements. What I like about Creative Expressions is how often they include project ideas in the packaging. So you can see a couple of really fun ways to use these feather leaf fronds, including a really fun wreath image that you can easily create. So to make my leaves, I first covered black cardstock with gilded avocado Opal Blaze, just like the same way we saw with using your finger and applying that medium straight onto black cardstock. Just take your die, pop it down, secure it in place, and run it through your die cutting machine. And that is going to give you the outline image that you can see here. So where you can see the green mounted up onto white. Now, it's also possible, of course, to leave some of those innies in your shape as you're die cutting, or to paper piece them back together if you want to. And when I do that, I usually have some masking tape or washi tape on the back of my die cut piece just to hold everything in place. It doesn't look so nice from the back, but once you glue it down or foam tape it down, no one will be able to tell. Now for the other leaves here, I've got the outline just mounted up onto a piece of white cardstock, which I've die cut into that leaf shape. And I've left the white innies in there as well. So I've got 2 layers on these 2 right here. I've added them all up on foam tape, and I also have another border that's been created with the gilded avocado. Now you'll probably also notice, maybe if I tilt this card, you can see it a little bit better, that spattering that's going on the background paper. Well, this is also Gilded Avocado Opal Blaze, and this is one of my favorite ways to use this medium. It just requires a simple spattering brush and your Opal Blaze, and you're able to create some really pretty effects, especially on patterned background paper. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to do my spattering onto some dark pattern paper. Now this sheet is from the Midnight Jewels paper pack, and this collection is a great match for the Opal Blaze. The colors just coordinate so beautifully, and of course because they are darker colors, it will allow that Opal Blaze to really stand out. So the Opal Blaze that I'm working with, this is the Sunset Orange. You can tell from the label on the bottom. I'm also going to be using my Distress Splatter Brush. So all I need to do is just take the lid and the lid liner off of my Opal Blaze. I'm going to set that aside. And I'm going to simply dip the tips of my Distress brush right into that medium. So you can see, I think if I hold it up here, I've really just got the tips of the bristles on here. And then all I need to do, hold my splatter brush right over my paper and then splatter away. Now you can do as much or as little as you want to. I'm going to kind of turn this periodically, and that helps me to get a more even spray pattern as I'm doing this. It's such a simple technique and a great way to enhance the pattern paper design and give you a little bit more variety. So again, I'm going to clean off my finger with a damp baby wipe. And then just hold this and tilt it so that you can see the shine and the shimmer on there. It's really beautiful, and it does give a very soft and subtle effect when you're working with those Opal Blaze colors. And of course, it works with any of your dark pattern paper. So you can use the pattern paper. You could also, of course, do this right onto black cardstock as well. Okay, let's take another look at our card. I'm going to move this aside and just would need to let that dry for a second before I get to using it as my background, as I've done here with this background piece. So besides the spattering, besides the Opal Blaze on my beautiful ferns, and also this strip on here, I've simply accented the card with a little bit of ribbon. I've got some white dazzles with the border and with the sentiment, and then I've also added in some of these flat back pearls. So now that we've seen simple splattering, let's take a look at another easy technique. And I'm going to bring in another card project that I have. Now this one is also doing some spattering on the background paper. And again, this is also from the Midnight Jewels paper pack. And I've got my beautiful border, which we'll also talk about in a minute. This has also been Opal Blazed. But I also want to show you, and it's a very subtle effect, but I think if you look closely, you'll see along the edge here on my pattern paper, and then down here at the bottom, I've just done some edging with the Opal Blaze as well. So let me show you this process. It's a very easy one too. I'm just going to bring in again a piece of that patterned paper from the Midnight Jewels collection. And let's see, I'm going to have the pink blueberry this time. Again, just take off that little liner in here. And I can apply this onto the edge. I can use my finger if I want to. You can also use a cosmetic wedge, and this might be a little bit easier, might give you a little bit more control. So I'm just dipping that into the medium and then running it along the edge of my paper. So the same way you might do with an ink pad, you're just angling the applicator toward the surface of the paper, and then you should be able to have that showing. Let me see if I can get another piece of paper in here, and you can see that difference on there. And that's going to give you a really pretty effect and a great one to use for matting. So if you wanted to, you can use a subtle effect like I've got here, or you can add even more and angle your applicator even more toward your paper surface, and then get even more of that shimmer and shine on there. So another really simple way to use your Opal Blaze to edge the paper. Okay, I'm going to bring back in my card again, and let's take another look at this. So that beautiful border on here, this is the Joni border, and I'm going to bring in the die packaging once again so you can see it's A really beautiful border that can be used, of course, as a border. You can cut it apart as well. You can also use it as the focal element on your card too, as I've done. And of course, some project ideas in here as well. Now, for this card, what I've used is the gilded avocado to create this background design. And then I've also done the spattering with the gilded avocado, and I have used teal going top and bottom on here. Again, quite simple. I've got a lot of the same elements as before. I got some white dazzles, some of those beautiful flat back pearls, and a little bit of ribbon on here to help it tie everything together. I have two more Opal Blaze techniques that I want to show you, and I'm using them both on this card. So you can see that I've done the simple application of Opal Blaze to get this leaf frond. I've also got some spattering on the background and some edging here on my black cardstock. But I've also got another technique going on, and that is underneath this Joni's border piece that I've got on here. So if you can see the paper that I've got underneath here, well, this is even more Opal Blaze, and it's easily been added onto that paper with a simple paintbrush. So let's take a look at this process. I'm going to move aside the card and just bring in a piece of paper from that same Midnight Jewels paper pack. And I'll grab one of my Opal Blaze colors here. This is the turquoise peach. So once again, just take off that liner, the lid liner, and all I need to do, similar with the distress brush, just dip your brush right inside. And I'm working with a dry brush that will keep the medium undiluted. And then all you need to do is just apply it directly onto your paper or cardstock. And that's going to give you a really soft and subtle look. It's going to go on lightly enough that you can still see the pattern of the paper underneath, but it does just give a really nice soft shimmer and shine. And of course you can use this on your solid cardstock as well. It would be really pretty on black cardstock. Then you just need to let that dry for a minute or two. Doesn't take very long at all, and you are ready to use it on your layering. So let me show you the card again so you can see where I've used this. Underneath this border that I've got here, so the piece that's backing that has been done in this fashion. Now the last technique I want to show you is how to use the Opal Blaze with stamps. So if you can see here, my two stamped images also have a little bit of shimmer to them and a little bit of color, although they have been stamped in black. So let's take a look at this. I'm just going to be working onto a piece of white cardstock, and I'm going to use some of the Spectrum Noir Finesse. This is in black. And I'm just going to grab a stamp and ink it up. Now the stamps that I'm working with are from Woodware, and this is the large postal tag collection. You really want to have something with a lot of black lines or heavy lines, heavy silhouettes are going to work best with this technique. It's not going to show up quite so well if you're using something with a really fine detail to it. So I'm just going to ink up my stamp here and stamp it right onto my white cardstock. Okay, and then I've got my image on here. Now all I need to do is add my Opal Blaze. So let me grab another color. This one is Golden Blackberry. And again, you can use whatever application method you want to. You could use the brush, you could use the sponge. In this case, I'm just going to use my finger for this. So I've got a little bit of that Opal Blaze on here, and then just gently apply it onto my piece. And you can see how magically that transforms that little black heart into one with some sparkle and some shine and some color. So again, just let that dry. It won't take very long, and you're ready to cut it apart and use it on your card. So let's take another look at the card again, now that we've seen all of these techniques and how to do them. So we've got our stamping on here. I've got these two elements cut apart and just stacked and layered. Of course, that leaf frond has been added with some foam tape. I have the Joni's border on here, and this has been colored with the sapphire grape onto black cardstock. Again, a little bit of ribbon and a dazzle sentiment down at the bottom. So I think you can see that there are so many fun ways to combine your Opal Blaze colors with stamps and with dies and with papers to create lots of beautiful techniques. I'm so glad that you've joined me today, and I can hardly wait to see what you create. Thank you so much for watching today, and thank you for being a part of the Paper Wishes family. We're glad that you're here with us. Do be sure to leave a comment. We'd love to hear what you think. Each item can be purchased separately, and you can see them below. However, we've also bundled them into a creative money saver just for you. For the money saver, just see this webisode on paperwishes.com.